Hey, thanks for delaying your lunch probably to join in here. So guess what we're going to talk about? Yes, so I work at AARP headquarters in Washington, D.C., and people tell me almost every week that I have one of the most fun jobs at the company because I advise our Chief Digital Officer on emerging technologies. So part of my job is, hey, Mike, go get a bunch of these trackers and try them out and see what they're about. And I won't spend a lot of time on why you should have consideration for walking more or sitting less. These are just some points from the AARP bulletin on walking, and besides getting fit, there's tons of clinical evidence on how walking can improve your heart and mitigate a variety of diseases and basically help you live longer. But there's an emerging area around inactivity. So it's less about how to start walking and walking more, but sitting less. And there's a study that says that even if you exercise for 30 minutes a day, whether that's walking or going to the gym, if you sit for 4 hours, it wipes out the gain that you made in the walking. So, and people are actually, when you're left to your own thinking and devices, are very bad at estimating how much walking or exercising you do. It really helps to have a tool to track and measure, and the choices are many now. So I'm just going to talk about the different types of trackers that are out there now. The prices are dropping. The Fitbit, which you've heard about a lot, is actually filed to go public. So they're selling tens of millions of them, and so this is here to stay, and it's going to drive competition in the market, and prices are going to continue to drop. And so this is just a lineup of the different devices that are out there. And so along the left is what's been around for about 10 or 15 years. You can get it at the drugstore by the pharmacy counter in the back, and it's just a little digital counter that you attach near your hip on your belt, and as you walk, the number just counts up your steps, and then it resets every day. So you don't have to keep a written journal. You can plug it into your computer and then download your stats, weekly to your computer or their website to see what's going on. And actually, fitness tracker or pedometers have been around for about 500 years. Leonardo da Vinci sketched one, and Thomas Jefferson brought the first one to America from France. So basically, when pocket watches were invented hundreds of years ago, it didn't take long for someone to say, hey, I've got this watch on my belt. Let me put a weight on it and a spring that'll, do a little counter on my steps, because walking is natural and good for you. In the middle is one of the current models from Jawbone Up, and that's kind of how they started in the last 5 to 7 years, when the basic counters are out there, but the cost of electronics has dropped so much. People said, well, people have smartphones now. Why not put a little radio in the little fitness tracker and have it just automatically move the number off the tracker into your phone, so it's there. You don't have to go find a computer to sit down. It'll just be in your phone since you have it probably all the time. And then there's a picture of a phone there. That's probably the easiest way, if you have a smartphone, to get into tracking, because Apple and Google, Samsung, all the major manufacturers are taking the little sensor that had been in the older types of models and just putting them on the phone for free. And then there's a little app on the phone. So on the current versions of Apple iPhones, there's a health app, and then there's Google Fit on Android. Microsoft's getting into it with their own tracker. So you just turn it on. If you have one of the newer phones, it starts tracking right away for you, and you don't have to really think about it. But then people realize that some people do like the ones like in the middle, the Jawbone Up, that clips to your belt. But some people don't like to have like a gadget that is hanging off their belt, or you're wearing it visibly on your body. It doesn't match your outfit. So the clip-ons are good if maybe you want to clip it to your bra or something that's hidden so people don't see, or you can stick them in your pocket or clip them to a shoe. So that's what people did for the longest time. But then the technology advanced to where they realized that, and this is complementary to walking, that sleeping enough hours a night is critical to health and recovery and recharging your body, 7-8 hours a night. And they realized that while you're tracking motion for walking, they could adjust that to do sleep as well. But it's hard to have the thing clipped onto your pajama belts or pajama elastic or something like that for sleeping. So they came out with ones that would be a band to put on your wrist. So you can't lose it. You can keep it on all day, if you want. It won't get lost in the wash if you, left it clipped to your pants or in your pocket. And then on the, so that's the red one. That's the current Fitbit, which I have, that also does heart rate monitoring. And then on the far right has been kind of the parallel market. This is a polar fitness watch, and if you go to the gym a lot, this has been around for many years. There have been specialized trackers and watches that integrate with gym equipment and count your calories so you can take the numbers home and study them. And then the latest trend now at the high end is watches. So at the same time that fitness trackers and sensors are now the size of a jelly bean and you can stick them anywhere on your body or your wrist, smartphones are getting smaller and smaller and more powerful every year. And now the power of a smartphone can be in a watch. So I've got the Apple Watch here and the Android watches and a running watch. And of course, they've thrown in step tracking in these, but who's going to pay $400 for a watch that's kind of a nice to have? So you can take a look at that. And so this is my collection after a decent walk outside. So this is coming. There's really amazing possibilities around clinical trials and conceiving of new apps that can help your doctor give you better advice on your living patterns. And so let me just tell you what a typical session is with a tracker. This is one from a company called Misfit, and it's called the Flash. And you can get these for $29 now. I saw their competitor, the Up, for $27 at Costco. And manufacturers in China are now releasing ones that are $15. So there really is going to be something that you could almost be given. And so what's not shown here is when you pull this thing out of the box, some of the more basic ones are nice because they have a little button battery inside that runs the device for 4 months, 6 months. Some of them run for a year. So you don't have to worry about recharging it and jacking it in every night. But they're very basic. It's not going to have a numeric readout. And so when you pull this out of the box, you pull a little tab out to activate it so the battery comes on. And then and it needs a smartphone. So since it doesn't have a screen, it needs to have an app that logs everything. So, and smartphones are down to $30 or $40 now, or free with a plan almost. You put this thing on, so there it is on the upper left as I take the one end of the band and push it through a little loop, and then there's a little peg under the end of the band that I push to lock into the little hole, and I can adjust it to fit, and it adjusts to fit any wrist. And then it's locked on there, and then there I am with it on, going out for a walk. And so that's pretty much all it is. Once it's active, it knows what time of day it is from your phone. So it zeroes it out at midnight. And then when you get up early for your walk, just do it. And it records the number. And this one's kind of clever because, as you see in the picture up at the top left, it has a little gauge. And when you push the front of the little tracker, it just gives you a little, 0 to 100 dots of how I'm doing today. And it's not because it's a less expensive one and there's no screen, but also some people don't like to see the number. That's kind of a form of nagging. Just show me the dots. I don't need to see a number. Maybe there's a privacy issue. You don't want your coworkers seeing how little you walked. And so when you and you don't need to have the phone with it. So you can leave the phone at home if you want. And so there in the picture, second from the end, is when I've come back home and I've started the app. And when you start the app, it automatically looks for the tracker. In your setup, you will have started the app, and it would have found the tracker when you pulled it out of the box and linked up with it. And so there it is synchronizing, and then on the picture at the end is the number I got from that session. And it's right there in the app, and then I can click on other buttons that show me how I'm doing that day, for a week or a month, and it'll calculate calories because you enter in basic information like your weight, your height. Sometimes you can calibrate how far you step. Do you step 2 feet or 1.5 feet or 3 feet? How fast do you walk? And it uses some rough calculations to figure out calories from the number of steps. And it's basic. It doesn't have satellite tracking or anything fancy like that, but it's just like a rough guide. And some of the models, like Nike or this Misfit, think that the step number is a little misleading because it doesn't tell you what the effort is. Were they easy steps? Did you walk up a hill? Was it flat? Did you break a sweat or not? And so they give you like a fuel number or like a score number that is less complicated than trying to understand, well, what does 5,000 steps mean versus 11,000 steps? And when you get to learn this number, you know where you stand, and you can compare with your friends more easily with this basic score number because it accounts for the differences between height, weight, stride, and age. And so how many have used trackers of any kind? A fitness tracker or band? Okay, good. So, if you get gifted one that's high-end and does a lot of features, good for you. But as I said, you can get one for $20 now. So I'm going to just show you some of the basic models here just to get started. Fitbit Zip is the one on the left. That's the classic clip-on model that's been around for a while. It's handy because it is a little jelly bean-sized device that has a battery. You don't have to charge every day, but it has a little screen on it that shows you a little happy face when you start out in the morning. And then you put it in this little rubber clip to put onto your belt, or you can stick it into your pocket or clip it to your shoe. And then a company now makes a little wrist holder for it, so you can put it on your wrist. And now the yellow one is its competitor. It's from Jawbone Up. So they have a high-end model for $99, but this is the one it's $27 at Costco or $30 at Amazon. They sell them at CVS. And it does everything the $100 model from last year does. So it will actually not only track your steps, it will track your sleep, and it has a little screen on it. So when you push the front of it once, you get a little walking person figure, and then a little dot that shows you what your progress is, 0 to 100. There's the Misfit Flash, the red one with the gray band that I told you about. Again, and those two are competing, so they are trying to out-feature and low price each other. And then on the right is another typical one you'll find called the Fit Bug Orb. And it's the most basic because it doesn't have any kind of indicator on it. You have to have a phone to read what's going on, and you have to push a button to synchronize it. I thought it was interesting because they wanted to be different from the other devices. This one will actually let perhaps spouses, husband and wife, each own one, but hook up the two bands to one phone, and the account will manage that. So it doesn't require you to have a phone to go with it or mess around with a PC. So that's kind of a different feature.